The biggest misconception people might have about today's anime is that its shonen A tag is the only thing it has to offer. I mean, there is a lot of that, and some did dedicate entire videos for that, while others completely dismissed it. It's like talking about Oscar Wilde's The Picture of Dorian Gray, but disregarding the romantic undertones. Today's anime is inspired by American literature, taking notes from the like of Salinger and Hemingway, and without taking these inspirations into account, many will misinterpret this complex show. Hey guys, I'm Evo Faddis, and today, Banana Fish. Banana Fish is essentially an old-school crime noir story set in the city that never sleeps, New York. It covers quite a few mature subjects such as sex trafficking, gangs, and drugs. I say old school because the original source material was set in the volatile days of New York City during Vietnam War. And while the anime leaned towards a modern take, the unique animation and ambience are mostly true to the manga. The driving force of the show is a contrast between the two leads. The first, Ash Lynx, is a cold and ruthless gang leader with a horrible past. The morbid side of his characterization is his utter disregard for his well-being as well as quick wit. He sometimes feels like a dead man walking on borrowed time. While Eiji Okumura, a former pole jumper who after an accident is now too scared to jump again, came to New York as a photographer's assistant for a change of scenery. He, unlike Ash, is a mundane and naive young man who gets manipulated easily. Both are devoted to one another in an implicit manner that's easy to miss if you don't pay attention. The title of the show and manga is an ode to Salinger's short story, A Perfect Day for Banana Fish, and I really recommend you check it out if you haven't yet. It's a brazen commentary on war and PTSD that comes with it, as he was drafted in the army in 1942 and later after the war was hospitalized for combat stress reaction. The interpretation of his short story should be understood with his own experience as well. He stated that sometimes soldiers like him found it impossible to fit into a society that ignored the truths they now knew. After this point, I will be discussing the plot to an extent, so spoiler alert. Ash's motivation to look for the elusive entity known as Banana Fish is his brother, paralyzed and unable to say anything except those two words after what happened to him in his campaign in Iraq. Despite this coming off as a slow burn romantic series, it puts more emphasis on the plot and characters. Banana Fish in the show refers to an acid-type drug, but unlike acid, it's an endless high which amplifies a person's paranoia and forces them to follow orders. Although this is an integral part of the story, the plot focuses more on the investigations, trials, and tribulations the gang go through in the process. The characters fight in a world of tainted power and greed. For every step they move forward, it's two steps back. Hemingway's Island in the Stream reference applies here, as the protagonists suffer in a world where rules no longer apply. One of the things I really appreciate about the show is its barefaced depiction of the mature content in the form of drugs, gang politics, and rape. Anime usually breathes through these issues by either making it comedic in what personally comes off as an uncomfortable and tone-deaf form of dark humor, or some unspoken horror in the background. Banana Fish does not glorify it, but presents it as it is. Ash's backstory is the most interesting in the entire series. A young boy who ran away from home after shooting his rapist to later be taken into custody of the mafia, only to be thrown in a ring of pedophilia sex trafficking. He somehow got enough control to become a gang leader people of all races respect. His cold yet effective leadership allows him to avoid dwelling on this trauma and move forward. Things change when Eiji comes into the equation. Ash slowly lets himself feel and tries to recover from the many traumas he survived from all these years. He can to some extent be compared to Salinger's protagonist, someone with past trauma and isn't quite ready to rejoin society and live a somewhat normal life. Both take refuge in their more naive and untainted counterpart as a callback to what they could have been. Regardless of what happens to Ash, Eiji will be his comrade, but like in the short story, that wasn't enough. Ash's choice to die goes against what he said earlier in the show, that he never feared death but he never wished for it either. A common element with him is an utter disregard for his well-being. He will use his training and body as a mere tool to accomplish his goals. Plus, taking into account the numerous Salinger references not only in the form of A Perfect Day for Banana Fish, but also The Catcher in the Rye, the second part of the series, the last episode, the ending visuals, and more, Ash becomes Seymour, a sacrifice so that Eiji, Sybil, can live a good life. Even though Ash was about to go to Eiji, Lao stabbing him was a reality check. He was the lynx of New York, and he will have powerful enemies that will come for him wherever he is. So the only way to protect Eiji is to let him go and rid the people of the object of their hate. He fights against his fate by going against the mafia and to some extent frees himself from it. The Hemingway reference takes form in the snow of Kilimanjaro. In the story, the leopard achieves the goal of reaching the top of the mountain, but at the cost of its life, as the pursuit had its consequences. Even if Ash was just a kid, he sees himself as a monster that cannot be redeemed. And the fact that this is one reference Ash muses on, this just goes to show the twisted perception he had for himself. The anime crafts the antagonist to test the limits of the main characters and how much they can take. The villains, although not exactly complex, are really interesting. But the Chinese mafia is the one I was particularly fond of. They personified the dark side of love. Yulong was the one without love, Shorter was the one who loved Ash as his brother, and Sing the one with the most healthiest and patient form of it. Even Lao acted drastically because of the love he had for Shorter and Sing, a continuation of Salinger's theme of protecting the good. Personally, I feel like the story would have been more interesting in a 1980s setting, especially on its social commentary and to put the inspirations into perspective. But in the grander scheme of things, I have to admit that the changes in the anime doesn't really take away much. Another criticism I have is that it rushed some things relating to the subplots, especially towards the end. I personally would have liked Eiji to be explored more as a character rather than just a sidekick to Ash, but other than that, I really liked the pacing and the low-key manner the relationship between the two grows. While the soundtrack was good, even though none personally stood out for me, the OP and ending songs were amazing. I like Blue Encount, but Survive Said the Prophet is currently one of my favorite Japanese bands, and I am biased. They didn't disappoint me in Vinland Saga's opening, and they sure as hell didn't disappoint me here. Plus, the visuals are really good, and the fact that there are so many fan theories based on the openings alone is a testament to how well thought out and animated they are. Banana Fish being an adoption of a critically acclaimed comic of a crime revenge story, one that probably inspired the likes of 91 Days, was revolutionary at the time and was a really fun watch for me. It's not perfect, but it's a well-made Shakespearean type of revenge story with powerful emotional moments and a strong appreciation for storytelling most people who give it time to watch will appreciate. So that's it for this week. Thank you so much for watching, and I think it's fair that I mentioned due to some things I can't control, I might not be able to upload reviews on a weekly basis anymore, maybe every 2 weeks or so. I'll try to change it, but honestly I can't guarantee anything. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.